common sense funding measure. House Republicans did our work. We passed a straightforward extension of funding to keep the government open while ensuring our troops, our Border Patrol agents, and all essential services are fully supported. But at every turn, Senate Democrats have instead chosen obstruction and delay. They voted again and again to stop temporary funding that would have kept the government open. Again and again, they put partisanship ahead of the needs of the American people. And it's hardworking American families that are paying the price. In my district, we see these impacts firsthand. At MacDill Air Force Base, there are thousands of brave men and women in uniform. Many have young families in our schools and spouses who work on base and in our communities. In addition, some of our very best neighbors work as civilian technicians and managers at MacDill and keep critical services, not just for our community, but for our country, operate. These are the people who will feel the strain of this shutdown and Washington's dysfunction the most. The service members, the civilian workforce who serves alongside them, and the federal workers and their families. They are now left to worry about their bills, about groceries, about paychecks, all because of political games by Senate Democrats. They deserve better than this. They deserve leadership that puts our country ahead of politics. House Republicans have already voted to ensure our service members receive their pay, and we will not allow America's heroes to suffer because of this political brinksmanship. Thanks to President Trump's leadership, the Pentagon identified funding to make sure that our troops are paid this month, even in the face of this needless shutdown. This is not about politics, it is about priorities. Our priority is the American people. We want to secure our border, to strengthen our military, to restore fiscal sanity to Washington, and ensure that every taxpayer dollar is spent wisely. Senate Democrats have made their priorities clear. They're more interested in protecting wasteful spending and expanding benefits for illegal immigrants than they are in protecting our service members and our hardworking American families. That is unacceptable. To the men and women at MacDill Air Force Base and the families across Florida's 15th Congressional District, and to every American feeling the uncertainty of this shutdown, know this: we are fighting for you. We are fighting to reopen government responsibly, to ensure stability for your families, and to get this country back on track. It's time for Democrats to stop the political games, to stop holding our troops and our federal workers hostage to their agenda, and to join us in putting the American people first. Thank you. And now we have our colleague, Representative Lalota.
Good morning, everybody. Fully funding our military is the most important thing our Congress can do. And 15 days into the shutdown, it's time for Chuck Schumer to do what's right and show a fraction of the courage and selflessness our troops display every day. Before I came to Congress, I was a Navy man. I deployed overseas 3 times alongside some of the most selfless and brave Americans our nation has to offer. These men and women serve their nation in hot engine rooms, overseas, on dangerous aircraft carrier decks conducting night flight operations, and on island chains ensuring they didn't become a safe haven for terrorists. The sailors I served with risked everything: time away from home, injury to themselves, and even their own lives in defense of our great nation. And I think that kind of courage demands some sort of selflessness as well from our nation's leaders too. Thankfully, President Trump showed the boldness and decisiveness to ensure that our troops got paid, and they didn't miss today's paycheck. That's welcome news for our families who serve our great country, who frankly we don't pay enough as it is. But true pay is just one piece of the puzzle. A prolonged government shutdown endangers America's national security, halting contracts, furloughing half of the Defense Department's civilian workforce, and disrupting intelligence and operations. It weakens our ability to compete with China, Russia, North Korea, and our other adversaries. It delays training, it delays deployments and housing support, and reduces overall readiness. Like Chuck Schumer, I'm a New Yorker, and I'll say this plainly. The next generation of New York Democrats are socialists, like AOC and Zoran Mondani. And they're dragging their party towards socialism. They want open borders, they want taxpayer-funded health care for illegal immigrants, and they want government-run grocery stores. Just look at the race right now for New York City mayor. Now, I know that socialism doesn't come naturally to Chuck Schumer. It was said before that just back in March, he supported the same clean CR that we're asking him to support today. Back in March, he had a backbone, Chuck Schumer. He stood up to his party's radical base and said he would put the nation before his own political interests. And he took a lot of flack for doing so. And that's why he's changed his course. But we're here today to call on him to do better and to put the country before his own political job. And we're asking that he put the hundreds of thousands of federal workers that rely on a continuing resolution, we're asking him to support that. And we're asking him to put the millions of Americans before his own political future. We New Yorkers, we pride ourselves on being tough. So I'm asking Chuck Schumer to be tough and to stand up to his own party's base. Stand up to AOC and Mondani. Be brave like our troops. And do your job and reopen our government. I want to introduce my good friend, also a military veteran, the Air Force, don't hold the Air Force part against him, an Air Force colonel who's doing a hell of a job fighting for his constituents in Iowa, my friend Zach.
Thanks, brothers. Whenever you can get the Navy and the Air Force on the same target, we're moving in the right direction. Friends, here's the reality right now. This government shutdown does not have to happen. We have a reality before us where 1.5 million troops, both those active duty and those in the Guard and Reserve, are on pins and needles where they're going to be able to feed their family marching forward. I am so proud to be standing with fellow patriots up here, many of them who have served. I'm one of those members who have served not only in combat, but continue to serve in my reserve capacity now. I've already committed my drill this weekend, and speaking with frontline members who are serving in uniform, our brothers and sisters, the sons and daughters of families who have sacrificed to have their child be in the military. They all have the same question. Why is this happening, and what is the mission to be able to stop it? Well, let's be very clear. The House of Representatives has executed its portion of the mission. Fully pay our federal government. The majority of the House, the majority of the Senate, the majority of the American people want this. But the reality is, there's a handful of individuals in the Senate who have put a stop to it. And this is where I agree with one of my colleagues. We don't govern by temper tantrum, he said. We'd be hurting millions of Americans, and we'd be treating them as leverage. That was Chuck Schumer in 2018. Another colleague said, this is irresponsible. No, it's reckless. My other colleague, Nancy Pelosi, but that was in 2013. A fellow colleague said, it's not normal to hold 800,000 workers, or in this case, over 1 million military members and their paychecks hostage. That was from AOC in 2019. Team, we've heard about the first-hand impacts to individuals. And it goes beyond just America, but what's happening right in our own districts as we look at this. Today, 15,000 National Guardsmen from Iowa were in danger of not being able to decide whether to put a down payment on a new car or being able to put food in the refrigerator. 2,000 of those members are right now deployed on the front lines in U.S. CENTCOM in Iraq. And even more of their families are wondering not only will they be safe, but will they be able to take care of their kiddos back home. So I called them up. And I said, hey, First Class Chase Holmes is a sergeant with our Iowa National Guard. He's currently preparing operations to be able to defend the country overseas. But because of the shutdown, critical joint training between his team and NATO was canceled. We spoke with an Iowa Guardsman and chaplain for the 224th Combat Engineers Battalion, Caleb Wyman. He is leading part of the 1,800 Guardsmen currently deployed to the northern part of Iraq right now. And he told me plainly, we're working, but we don't know if we'll get paid. I'll put my life on the line, but I hope someone's there to take care of my family if my paycheck doesn't come through. These aren't theoretical. These are real people, real impact, real costs. Let's be blunt. The shutdown of the government has only one hostile actor, and there's a few individuals in the Senate who refuse to put the country before the hostage of the 350+ million Americans they've taken. It's unacceptable, and that is why I'm grateful that while President Trump is helping lead peace in the Middle East with the men and women who are on the front lines providing it, we have folks at home who need to do the same job and stand up for this country first. Thank you to my colleagues, but most importantly, thank you to all our federal workers, and God bless our troops. With that, I'm thrilled to introduce our leader, the man who's been on the front line of this himself, Mr. Scalise. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Zach, and thank all of my colleagues who you just heard from, many of whom served our nation bravely in our nation's military. I want to say thank you to the over 1 million men and women in uniform who continue to serve right now, despite the uncertainty, that uncertainty that does not need to exist. And why? Because Chuck Schumer is more afraid of the radical leftists in his own party than he is concerned about making sure that those families don't have to wonder about whether or not they're going to be able to put food on the table. Their families, while they're overseas, many of them, are going to be able to put food on the table during this Schumer shutdown. And keep in mind, over 1/3 of all men and women who serve in uniform right now, over 1/3 of them live paycheck to paycheck. That means when Chuck Schumer is voting to deny them pay, many of them will not be able to make their rent payment or their mortgage payment. Many of them will not be able to make their car note payment. And the stress that that adds to their lives unnecessarily should not happen, did not need to happen. This House came together. I'm so proud of the men and women I serve with in Congress here in the House where we did our job weeks ago. We sent a bill over to the Senate. That doesn't resolve all of our differences. People often say, gee whiz, why can't Washington just get together? You know, which side's going to win this thing? It's not about which side wins. It's about stopping the American people from being the losers in Chuck Schumer's fight while we go negotiate our differences. We have big differences we need to negotiate, and the clean CR that we passed over the Senate does not resolve those differences. It just gives us some more time to have that negotiation. And by the way, that clock is getting sooner every day. November 21st is not extending every day that Chuck Schumer continues this charade that he's playing with the lives of millions of American families. That date is going to get closer every day where we're not going to have as much time to negotiate our differences. And how big are those differences? Just look at the wish list, the hostage list that Chuck Schumer filed weeks ago, his demands that he said have to be met before he'll even open up the government again. $1.5 trillion in new unrelated spending Chuck Schumer demanded, including, yes, eliminating all the verifications so that illegals will get taxpayer-funded health care. That's in Chuck Schumer's bill. Chuck Schumer guts the $50 billion rural hospital fund to give taxpayer-funded health benefits to illegals in his hostage demands. That's not going to happen. And so when are we going to have a rational conversation? When are Democrats going to actually become serious in this discussion where they say, let's open up the government and start talking about our differences, about how we're going to get this country back on track? And in contrast, again, just look at what happened yesterday. Some of us were at the White House at just an amazingly emotional ceremony where President Trump posthumously, unfortunately, issued the Medal of Freedom to Charlie Kirk. And his incredibly brave widow, Erica, was there to receive it on his behalf and gave another emotionally powerful speech. And this comes on the heels of President Trump returning from the Middle East, where he was in Israel, he was in Egypt, working with other world leaders to establish historic Middle East peace. President Trump's been doing all those things, and in the middle of doing all of those things, he had to go find time to figure out creatively a way to pay our troops, even though Chuck Schumer wants to defund our troops. Yes, the party, the Democrats, that were for and continue to be for defunding our police now want to defund our military troops by not paying them, by not opening up the government. And the votes are clear. Nobody has to wonder which side is for shutting down the government, which side is for trying to deny troops their pay. We had yet another vote, the 8th time on the Senate floor. Yesterday, while we were at the White House, the Senate was having that vote on whether or not to open up the government, and you saw Democrats continued, led by Chuck Schumer, to shut down the government and deny troop pay. It's embarrassing. It's not just unserious, it's having devastating consequences on millions of Americans around this country, and it doesn't need to happen. We shouldn't have to wait until the Hate America rally this weekend, or whatever it is that's driving Chuck Schumer to keep this going on, this damage that's being inflicted, so that he thinks it's going good for him, while it causes damage, real harm to millions of American families, including our servicemen and women who are so bravely risking their lives for these great freedoms that we enjoy. We're going to continue to fight for freedom. We're going to continue fighting to open this government and do our jobs. And the whip of our conference is my friend, Tom Emmer.
If Chuck Schumer and the Democrats had things their way, more than 1 million service members would not get paid today. Thankfully, our commander-in-chief stepped up where the Democrats have refused by reallocating funds to ensure our troops receive their hard-earned paychecks today. Thanks to President Trump, military families across the country will have the resources they need to continue making ends meet just a little bit longer. Yet, what has been the Democrats' response? Representative Madeline Dean told CNN yesterday, quote, "This is not the way to run a government," close quote. Making sure our troops get paid is not the way to run a government? You know what is actually not the way to run a government, Representative Dean? Holding the American people hostage over your $1.5 trillion wish list of radical demands. Clearly, the Democrat Party of today is not your grandfather's Democrat Party. They care about one thing and one thing only, appeasing the radical, pro-terrorist wing of their party. And they will inflict the maximum amount of pain on the American people to do it. But it doesn't have to be this way. Republicans have a nonpartisan government funding bill ready in the Senate. We've been talking about it now for more than 2 weeks. It can be sent to President Trump's desk immediately. We could end the Democrats' shutdown chaos today if they would do the right and reasonable thing by passing our clean CR. It contains 0 partisan policy riders, no gimmicks. It's the same spending levels that Democrats supported just 6 months ago and that they passed 13 times previously under the Biden administration. But 9 times now, 9 times, the Democrats have refused, shutting the government down in the process and forcing Americans to pay the price. All so they can gallivant around the Capitol making ridiculous videos, childish videos, scream at Capitol police officers who aren't getting paid, by the way, and buy time until their Hate America rally takes place on Saturday on the Mall. It's despicable and it's wrong. We can only hope that they come to their senses and that the madness ends soon. Until then, our message remains the same. Stop playing political games, pass our clean CR, and reopen the government for the people you were elected to serve. Lisa McClain, our conference chair.
Well, good morning, everybody. Here we are again. I'm going to be very clear. Chuck Schumer wants a dirty deal. I'll say it again. Chuck Schumer wants a dirty deal. One that caters to his radical base. You know, the same crowd planning to protest at their I Hate America rally this weekend. And what is in this so-called deal? Let's take a look at what's in Chuck Schumer's dirty deal. And let me spell it out. It adds $1.5 trillion to our national debt. $1.5 trillion. It hands out health care to illegal immigrants. That's not a talking point, that's a fact. It guts the most historic investment Congress has ever made in rural health care. Again, that's a fact. And it weakens health care for hardworking Americans. Begin to see the compare and contrast. Chuck Schumer and the Democrats want to protect illegals and hurt Americans. Republicans, we actually want to do what we were elected to do, and that's take care of Americans. Yesterday, we released a new white paper on the facts, which are actually crystal clear. So we don't need to do political stunts and storm the speaker's office, and we just have the facts on our side. And notice, when you can't beat us on the facts, you have to go to emotion, and you have to go to political stumps, and that's exactly what the Democrats are doing. First, the Democrats' proposal eliminates a cornerstone investment in rural health care, putting hospitals and small-time clinics deeper in financial debt. That's a $50 billion cut to rural America. Second, states like California have played games with federal tax dollars to give benefits to, you guessed it, not Americans, that's right, illegals. Republicans actually closed that loophole, saving taxpayers $190 billion. Again, note the compare and contrast. The Democrat bill would reopen that loophole, and don't let them deny it. Make them own their votes. Make them own their stance. Let me remind you, every single Democrat on the 2020 presidential debate stage raised their hand and said taxpayers should pay for health care for illegals. Every single Democrat. So why are they denying it now? Because they know it's not popular with Americans, right? They are on the record wanting health care for illegals. Own it, Democrats! Say it loud, say it proud. You want to put illegals over Americans. Just own it. I'm going to say it again. They are on the record wanting health care for illegals, and their dirty deal that they lay out in black and white. Finally, Democrats' plan forces taxpayers to cover the majority of emergency medical costs for all non-citizens. Another $28 billion tab for who? You guessed it, the American people. So here's the bottom line. The Democrats' proposal would force taxpayers to fund $119 billion in waste, fraud, and abuse. Yes, that's right. The Democrats advocate for waste, fraud, and abuse. Why? Because it's not their money, it's your hard-earned money, including benefits for people that are here illegally. That weakens health care for Americans. It also defunds rural health care. Again, that weakens health care for who? That's right, it weakens health care for Americans. It is absolutely outrageous. So here's my message to Democrats. Tell all of your radical base you're done taking orders. Tell them you're putting America first. Drop the demands, reopen the government, pass the House bill, and let's get back to work for the American people. Thank you.
Speaker
Johnson.
A judge in Florida issued a restraining order against Corey Mills for threatening, harassing behavior from an ex-girlfriend. And according to these court documents, he also instructed a congressional staffer to reach out to her after that initial temporary restraining order was filed. Do you think this is an ethical violation, and do you think any disciplinary action is warranted?
I have not heard or looked into details of that. I've been a little busy. We have a House Ethics Committee. If it warrants that, I'm sure they'll look into that.
Mr.
Speaker, it's been reported for a while. Corey Mills was accused of beating a girlfriend in his D.C. apartment. He was accused of stolen valor by the people that he claimed to have saved on the battlefield that have been on the record said that he did not save them. I mean, this has been happening since the beginning of the year. Are you concerned about these allegations against Corey Mills?
Look, you have to ask Representative Mills about that. I mean, he's been a faithful colleague here. I know his work on the Hill. I mean, I don't know all the details of all the individual allegations and what he's doing in his outside life. You have to ask him about that. Let's talk about things that are really serious.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. OMB put out memos saying that they're going to batten down the hatches and ride out the shutdown. But, as you pointed out, they're going to pay the troops, as well as they said pay law enforcement. Should law enforcement include Capitol Police who protect you, your family, Mr. Scalise, the whip, as well as the Capitol building in general?
Yeah, we've always stood with Capitol Police and law enforcement, and we've shown that in word and deed. And I can tell you that I was with the president for a couple of hours in the Oval Office last night. I spoke with Russ Vought in the Rose Garden before the Charlie Kirk service. They are, what's the right word, forlorn about this. No one on the Republican side is taking any pleasure in this scenario. Yes, we're always for reducing the size and scope of the government and all of that, but this is not the way to go about it. We don't shut the government down, turn off the funding streams, and then require all these cuts like this. So what they're doing is they're having to triage federal spending, as you know, because anybody, as we've said, any person who's in the White House, regardless of party, and their director of OMB, is given this unfortunate, reluctant task. They have to figure out and triage what are the most essential services personnel policies and what are not. They're going to look at that through a partisan lens, but when they look through it through that lens, I mean, we're looking at it right now as conservative Republicans, the White House, that's who serves in the White House right now. If Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or a Democrat were there, they would look at it with a totally different set of lenses. But I can tell you that when we look at that, we prioritize troops and law enforcement, absolutely. So if there is a mechanism to do that, they will find it and they will fund it. The reason, the way they were able to get the troops paid for this paycheck, and as I said, this is not an enduring solution because we will run out of the funds, but there were some unspent funds in effectively R&D accounts in defense. They moved that over to prioritize payment of those who are putting their lives on the line today and who have families in serious situations. That money will be replaced, as has been explained by the White House, after the funding gets going again. If we can find a similar mechanism to take care of Capitol Police, of course, they'll do that, but that's in a separate branch. So,
Mr. Speaker,
yes, sir.
Mr. Speaker, this is day 15 of the shutdown, though, and Leader Scalise just kind of addressed this, that the 7-week bill that you guys passed before, you guys have already lost 2 weeks of that. Is there a point in the future where you decide to put either another clean continuing resolution on the floor, like in the next couple weeks, or why not just put some of your appropriation bills that have passed out of committee on the floor during the shutdown?
Our appropriators have been hard at work, even during the shutdown. They had, remember in the House, we passed all 12 separate appropriations bills through committee, 3 off the floors. There's 9 left. They've been working to put those together and prepare them for action. And whether or not they're all collected here in D.C. or they're working individually at home as a group, we have lots of means of communication right now. So the appropriators are working not just among colleagues in the chamber, but chamber to chamber. So it's a bipartisan discussion that's been going on. As I mentioned several days back, I even spoke myself with Patty Murray, who's the lead on appropriations in the Senate, Democrat side. So that work has been going on. With regard to the timeline of the CR, it would do us no good to pass yet another CR out of the House because it will meet the same fate. Chuck Schumer and the Senate Democrats want to close the government down. They are gleeful about this. They are happy that troops are suffering all this pain, apparently, because they've just voted now 9 times collectively. Democrats in Congress have voted 9 times to block the pay of troops and Capitol Police and all the federal employees and by extension all the civilian contractors and everybody else. So we would just be going through an exercise in political futility to pass another CR. It is ironic that the 7 weeks on the clean CR that we passed, September 19th, was a date that was determined by Republicans and Democrats in the House. The appropriators determined together that that should be the length of the CR, and they stipulated together that it should be clean. The Democrats at the time said, please don't put any Republican priorities on that so that we can all do this in good faith. And we didn't. We put a clean CR, and still they voted no. Why? Because their leadership, Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, told them they had to. So I think appropriators want to get back to work. I know every House Republican does, but we've got to get the lights turned back on, and Chuck Schumer and the Democrats need to vote to do that so we can get back to regular legislative session. Yes, ma'am.
Last question. Thank you. Just to follow up, though. So the Senate is actually trying to advance some appropriations bills. Are you saying that if your appropriators get some bills ready for the floor, you'll bring them back, bring the chamber back, even if the CR isn't passed?
Leader Thune is trying to advance the defense approach bill today. We'll see how that turns out. My suspicion is the Democrats are going to play their same political games and stop that cold. I hope I'm surprised by that. But we'll see. We're on a 48-hour return notice for House Republicans and the House itself. Dependent upon action in the Senate, we can get all this moving again, and we can get back to all the regular order and all the things that are stacking up on our plates. It is ironic that even though Democrats decided upon the end date, the 7 weeks to go to November 21, it is the Democrat leadership that is eating up the clock. And they are doing great harm to the American people, not just by suspending services, vital services and paychecks, but also because of the backlog of work that the Congress has to get done. And we cannot do it while hardworking Americans are suffering because of these antics. And that's why we're demanding, insisting that they get it open. I'll leave you with this. You've heard the word contrast here a number of times today. So grateful for these Main Street Caucus leaders who came in and helped us articulate this contrast. I'll just say this again. You have two parties on a split screen right now. You have President Trump and the Republican Party reducing your taxes, cutting government red tape and regulations to get the economy going again, passing historic legislation to boost the economy and bring down the cost of living. You have Republicans who have ended the border crisis, almost zero illegal crossings in the last 4 months. You have Republicans who are working to end the crime crisis and support law enforcement and ICE officers and all those who are wearing that badge and putting their lives on the line and supporting our troops, as we talked about today. You have Republicans who are ending fraud, waste, and abuse in government and making government work more efficiently and effectively for the people. And you have President Trump and the White House and his administration ending conflicts that are killing millions of people around the world. What have Democrats accomplished in the last 9 months? A government shutdown. I mean, the contrast between these parties could not be any more stark. And I encourage you to watch. We call it the Hate America rally that will happen Saturday. Let's see who shows up for that. I bet you see pro-Hamas supporters. I bet you see Antifa types. I bet you see the Marxists in full display, the people who don't want to stand and defend the foundational truths of this republic. And we do. And that's what we're here doing every single day. And we'll continue to come in every morning and tell the American people the plain and simple facts. Because the facts are going to win the day here. The American people are not stupid. They see what's going on, and they know who's to blame. Thanks for being here this morning.
What's this?
Greece. No. Greece. Hey. Greece.
No, we didn't. Yeah.
That's tomorrow.
Read yeah.
That's what I was saying, the chief was like, I'm here to
Okay.
she is in district.
They're already on.
Thanks, team. Great job.
And see.
Uh-huh.
Great.
Great.
Why isn't somebody trying to
Great.
her?
No business.
That's okay. Party reporter started. Darren.
I will not stop. We don't give up. My prosecutors are always looking for justice for victims of crimes. We are always searching for answers. Teresa's life was violently stolen from her more than 40 years ago. But the past is never forgotten, and my office never gives up on a victim. Sadly, Teresa's mother did not live to see this day. She passed away in 2019, the same year that Hot Skates, where Teresa was last seen alive, closed its doors for good. I wish she could be with us right now.
So do I.
But Teresa's father is here, as he has been at every point over the last 40 years, where we searched for the person responsible for killing Teresa. And we will all be with you, Tom,
Thank you.
and your family, as we prosecute this case for your daughter.
I'll be by your side till the end.
Thank you, Tom. As we spoke with the defendant just days before his indictment, he said something very curious to us when we asked about Teresa. Through his denials that he had ever known her name, who she was, he made what he treated kind of a flippant observation about the 1980s. He said, people got away with murder back then. Well, let me tell you something, Mr. Bilodeau. It's 2025, and I got you now. I'll take some questions if you have any.
What put you on his trail in the first place, other than the mobile coffee place where he worked nearby? Was there something that led investigators to surveil him?
There was an investigation that was ongoing with the Nassau County Police Department and the FBI. I cannot provide other details at this time, but that's what began our search for him and eventually led us to get the evidence in the case.
If I could ask, Tom, what does this do for you today?
I mean, if you could, Mr.
Slide over a little bit.
Yes, well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'm not ready to make any comments about the case. All I can do is give my gratification to all the hard work that I've been given as to the individual that was brought to this indictment today. So for me, hearing that there is somebody to finalize my daughter's life to a finalization will bring closure to me and my family. So I'm looking forward to all that has to be taken. But I believe that they've done their work, and we'll see what the future brings.
Mr. Fusco, can you just talk about what it was like to be in court with this individual who you've never seen before? And who might have been-
I can only say it's heartbreaking to go through this over and over again, but this seems like a finalization, and I'm very grateful for me and my family to come to an end like this than to constantly be a cold case situation. Thank
And
you.
a roller coaster, too, of convictions and acquittals. And
That's a memory that I have to put in the past, but I leave it to the DA to take care of all the necessary things. Thank you.
As a
Thank
father,
you.
can you tell us anything about your daughter that you hope people do remember? All these
Everything
years?
that's been said, I can tell you, has been documented over the years, and I only loved her and I miss her. That's all I can say. She lives in my heart, as you can see.
Did you give up hope, or did you always believe this day would come?
I never gave up hope. I've always had faith in the system. But before I leave this earth, I'm very happy that, since my ex-wife's not here, that I'm here with my family and the DA. So I'd like to end my conversation now and move on with whatever is to come. But the finalization is what I'm looking for. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
well, you can't go into detail of the leads, but can you tell us, was it a tip? Was it a...
In a broad sense, can you
Yeah.
tell us,
Can you
like,
characterize
can you
what-
kind of just glue those two pieces together a little bit for us?
As I said, it was all through DNA testing.
Is he suspected in any other unsolved cases from that time frame?
At this point, we're here today for Teresa Fusco's case. I don't have any, we don't have any information that he may be involved in other cases.
You worked at a Walmart, you worked the graveyard shift. Can you tell us how long you worked there and anything else about him? Did he live with anybody, any family?
As far as I know, he lived by himself in a home that was owned by his family. Yes, he worked nights in Walmart. I don't know how long he's been working there.
It kind of echoes like the pizza box from Gilgo. Would you agree that it has some similarities, the same general concept here applied?
I think that's, generally how we get the DNA. If it's from something the defendant touches or drinks from or eats.
You just talk to the police. You get your tip, you start following him, and then you make the arrest. We're talking months.
The arrest was made yesterday.
Yes.
It was, let me get the date for you. February of 2024, when we began looking at him and investigating him.
And then the DNA match came in recently?
Yes.
The original case was in 1984. There was a lot of, it was overturned because of a lot of, police misconduct, misstatements. You talked about a little bit of how things have changed since then. There was no videotaping, there's no police body camera, the DNA wasn't available. Can you talk about a little bit about how things have changed and why you think this is the person?
Things have changed since 1984. We didn't have DNA testing then. And when DNA testing did come into the criminal justice world, it was minimal in 2004. It got better in 2014 and got better in 2024. That's how science works. It's always improving upon itself.
Anything else?
DA, the defense lawyer already harkened back to the exoneration of the 3 men who were convicted. Do you expect that to come into play in this case, and what makes this prosecution, you think, different?
Science and DNA evidence doesn't lie. Period. What happened in that case, I was not privy to. I was not the prosecutor on the case. But it's 2024. And when you have a DNA match, 100% match, we got the guy. Thank you.
Any reason why? Are you looking into motive? Any reason why this happened?
I'm not going to speculate on that.
Thank you, everybody.
The DA, it was 100% match?
Yeah.
That was 100%. That's good.
Thanks, Kevin.
That's not possible. Like if I took your DNA right now and then tried to match it up from an hour ago, it wouldn't be 100%.